So success to me, I know lots of people have different definitions of it, but success for me is going home at the end of the day knowing that I made a difference. The people up front thought the people out back just didn't work, didn't care about their jobs, and I built over probably a decade or so this model in my head that I never wanted a team, right? I never wanted employees. Even if the talent and the drive and the all the other things are there, if we don't think they're a culture fit, I can't bring you on.
As an entrepreneur with a global team, one of my biggest challenges was managing international payments. I was stuck with high fees, slow transfers, and endless complications. Whether it was paying my team in the Philippines or buying products from Japan, I tried multiple banks and services like PayPal, but nothing seemed to work. Then I found Wise. The savings have been huge, and transfers that used to take days now happen in hours. It's fast, simple, and has become a vital part of my business strategy. If you're not using Wise for international payments, you're missing out on a game changer. Click on the link in the description to get started with Wise today. There's a lot of noise in tech about scaling fast, raising money, and pushing hard early. But no one really talks about what happens after that. When you're exhausted, your team keeps leaving, and the business starts running you instead of the other way around. Today's guest chose a different path. Dean Matthews is the founder of On the Clock, a bootstrapped SaaS company built without venture capital and with a team that actually stays, which in tech is rare. We talk about how Dean built a company people don't want to leave, how he competes without burning cash, and why clarity, consistency, and health matter more long-term than speed. We also get into leadership, what earns real trust, what quietly breaks culture, and the trade-offs founders don't see until it's too late. I'm Linda Vo, and this is Inspired by Success. And without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Dean Matthews.
Hi, Linda. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored to be on your show. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean, you chose to bootstrap when raising money is the kind of thing that everybody does in SaaS. What made you stick with that, especially in the early days?
I would say, if you want a really honest answer, it was probably naivety. Back at that point, it was really me on my own, and I came from a consulting background, so I was a consultant here in the Metro Detroit area for several dozen companies, small and medium-sized businesses. So I just really found this. I was following some posts, some forums, if you remember those, and I just really saw this problem that these small business owners and accountants were complaining about. They were looking for a system that could track employee time, that they couldn't find something. They were looking for easy and reliable. Those were the two terms that I kept seeing coming up. And so when I saw that, I just really thought to myself, I could build that for them. So to your question of bootstrapped versus VC, really at that time, I really honestly didn't even consider VC. I was just thinking, this is my time. It was more of a passion project in the beginning too. So it was just something that I was looking to build something that would make a difference. So really that was the choice. It was just bootstrapped was just the natural thing to do. And that's the way it went. And fast forward to today, it's paid off very well.
And you've been consistent as well. But I'm curious to know, because you chose to bootstrap, there are things that you were able to do. When you get VCs, you sometimes lose control.
You do, yeah.
You were able to do it all by yourself, and you've learned a lot of things over the years and things you've avoided. So, what tell me some of the learnings from that, and we'll get into the culture part and how you built it. But I want to hear some of the challenges, the nitty gritty stuff that
sure.
Sometimes as businesses, entrepreneurship is not easy, and the mindset is pretty. You have to have a certain mindset, and there would have been so many different challenges, especially bootstrapping and not having that, the resources to fund because it's a SaaS.
Sure.
Yeah, so give us a little bit about the challenges and the nitty gritty of how you built that without VC funding and, having to manage the money as well. There's a few questions there, but I'm just fascinated of how you kept it going for so long, bootstrapped as well.
Absolutely. Those are really good questions, Linda. So the first challenge, you could relate this to the bootstrapping. So for me, it was like I said a minute ago, it was really my passion project. So it was my time. That was the only thing that I had to contribute. I also was a software developer, so I could come up with the ideas and through my customers, through talking with customers, come up with ideas. And it was really just my time that I had to allocate to that. But there was a challenge in that because every moment that I spent with On the Clock, our product, I was taking away from earning money with my consulting companies, right? So, and I did spend a lot of my time where I could have been billing hours building On the Clock, OTC we call it. So there was a little challenge there. I had to make sure we had income coming in while I was building this project. I had several other projects along the way that were kind of sister projects as well. So it was really, I had to watch my time to make sure I could still pay the bills while still building my passion projects. So that was probably challenge number one. There was a lot of evenings and weekend work that went into that as well. That was a challenge as well. You had to sacrifice family time and such, but, got through it and made it. So that was great. The second challenge, which really came a bit later, is that in my consulting career, while I was doing software consulting for these, couple, 3 dozen, maybe 4 dozen small businesses here in the Detroit area, I learned and I got to meet a lot of people there. So I worked with the people up front, the VPs, the CEOs. Then I worked with the people out back, the people that were sweeping the floors a lot of times. And I'm a friendly guy, so I got to meet and become, work friends with a lot of people. And I saw these cultures, these really bad cultures evolving. The people out back hated the people up front. They just golf all day and are in meetings all day. And the people up front thought the people out back just didn't work, didn't care about their jobs. And I built over probably a decade or so this model in my head that I never wanted a team, right? I never wanted employees because that's the way it was, and I was young and naive. But when it came to the point, at this point, it's probably about 10 years ago, where really realized I can't bring OTC On the Clock to where I want it to be without people, right? I mean, you can't go far on your own. You're capped.
Mm-hmm.
So the first lesson that I had to learn, or the second lesson I had to learn, was to bring people in. And it's not that I'm anti-people. I love people. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't want that environment, that culture. So I had a really, really strong ambition that if I was going to build a team, that I would do it the way I wanted to do it. So, and to have a good culture and to have good values and to have people that cared about each other and cared about their work and that got along. And really that was one of the founding principles that went in, 11 years ago with On the Clock. And one of my favorite quotes is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So I found that quote a number of years ago, and that really summed up that second challenge that I had there. And today, here at OTC, we just brought on a few more people, so I think we're at right around 24 people now, and we really do have that culture. We have basically a 0% turnover, so people that come tend to stay. We have extremely high eNPS score. We Glassdoor ratings are through the roof. As far as the team internally, we all get along. We don't have subcultures. We have one culture, and it's just a really good. A lot of people talk about it like it's a family culture or it's a very good culture to learn and be productive in. So, I'd have to say we pretty much hit the mark with that. So that was really that second challenge, and I'd consider that one a win. We're doing really well, and that's proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah, you mentioned you had a few other things like side hustles as well. When did you decide to go all in? and focus on this? Is that when you knew it was profitable? And who did you hire as your first employee? Was it a salesperson, or was, because we want to, obviously you need cash flow for the business, and you're doing it bootstrapped as well. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
two questions.
So
Yeah.
yeah, first employee, Samantha is her name, and she's still with us. She has made a lot of leaps throughout the years. So yeah, she's coming up on 10 years. She is
Wow.
now a product owner. She works in our product department under Steve. So they build. Well, I'm also in product as well, but we build the product. We're the ones that spec out what we're going to build, and she is now the product owner. She's moved up from customer support in the early days up to product owner now. So that's she's awesome. She's with us still, and yeah, we're still moving up into the right with her. So yeah, she
So it
was the
wasn't like
first
a
hire.
salesperson. It wasn't like do you, because I'm thinking, to bootstrap, you need to be able to, bring in the cash flow. So did you
Yeah.
hire good salespeople to actually get the message out, or how are you promoting it? Is it through your contacts, your networking, your previous consulting clients that helped, or what?
Yeah. So actually, another really good question. For the most part, up until about a year ago, we were all product led. So we were actually at a price point that was very difficult to bring on a sales team for quite a few years. So we really did product, PLG, product led growth. So we built into the product. It was so easy that it just really marketed and grew itself. Of course, SEO, marketing, we've been hard at that for many years. And word of mouth is a big one too for us. Our customers really do love our product, and there's a significant portion of new accounts that when they sign up, they select a friend or a coworker told told me about OTC, and that's how I found out about it. So really, we were just like I said, up until just about a little less than a year ago, we started our first sales team, and so now we're continuing to build the sales team. Now there's 3 people in sales, BD, business development and sales, right now. So yeah, that's all brand new to us. So that's kind of the fun and new thing we're doing. Jamie is our sales manager, and yeah, we're having a great time. Specking out BD and sales plans. We have 4 pillars. Yeah, we're having a great time with that.
I love that. And the fact that you've got zero turnover, that's pretty compelling. I want to dig deeper into that afterwards. But
Sure.
first of all, everyone says, people often sometimes leave for better money or better opportunities. So from what you've seen, what do people actually leave over, and why do you think you've got, you mentioned the family culture and that helps. Like, are you all based in Australia? I mean, sorry, in the US, or do you have remote workers as well? Like,
Almost all. Well, no, all of our team members are here in the United States. We're
mhm.
I'd say about 75% hybrid. So 3/4 of us are in the office Tuesdays and Thursdays, and at home the rest of the days. And we have, about 5, 6 people now that will be fully remote, but they're still in the States. Yeah.
Is that what do you think helps your culture stay strong as well? And what are the leadership values and principles that have helped you, maintain this zero turnover?
Yeah,
Because that's
it's I,
rare, 'cause when I hire someone too, if I hire the wrong candidate, I've done that multiple times, and I think it starts from the beginning as well as the way you find people, but maintaining, especially what you're doing in SaaS, like maintaining that culture and zero turnover. That's hard. So I'm curious to dig deeper into that as well.
Sure, absolutely. So I think you had asked about the remote team a little bit. So remote teams are pretty new to us. Only this last year or so, we've really been in the remote. So with that brings on its own set of challenges to keeping the culture going, right? You're not in the office. You don't have the proverbial water cooler talks, the hallway talks. So we just do our best. We have several meetings that everybody attends, and we really do encourage all team members to jump on video whenever you need to. We prefer video over a call or anything like this. So there's one-on-ones. I have one-on-ones with all of my direct reports. Generally, a lot of times every week, every 2 weeks at most. We have all hands meetings where everybody, including the remote people, join in. A lot of times we'll turn the camera on. Well, not a lot of times, but every now and then we'll turn the camera on, maybe during like a party or a lunch or something, so everybody can join. So that it's little things like that, and I think it's really just the biggest factor there is just caring for the person as a person, right? I mean, when you promote a culture where people are people and they're not a resource, or a number, that it somewhat automatically happens, but you have to have that framework in place to where you treat people like people. And that's extremely important to me. And leading remote teams, we have to just pay extra attention to that.
And yeah, that's
So
true.
yeah.
And is there any secret to when you're hiring, what type of things do you always look for when hiring in order to get that, the level of
Yeah.
zero turnover? What do you look for?
Oh
What's the
no,
secret?
it's a super super good question. So for me, I and when I'm in hiring meetings, interviews and such, which pretty much I am for the most part with everybody at this point still. I am looking for a culture alignment, values alignment. So I will ask questions. I'll ask questions about your previous job, about your previous manager, about how you dealt with conflict resolution. And I'm looking for a person that will fit into our culture and that doesn't have a big ego, that does care about their coworkers, that talks good about the people they used to work with. Uh, if you just ask a few questions, you'd be amazed at what people will start talking about. So I'm in those meetings and really looking for that alignment. And sometimes I have to really kind of dig a little deep and just start asking about, well, tell me about this. You mentioned you had this conflict, and dig deeper and try to get to the root of it, and to see if it was that person that was the possibly the instigator of it. And if it is, then sometimes we'll put a big red check mark on there that this is probably not the person for us. So even if the talent and the drive and the all the other things are there, if we don't think they're a culture fit, I can't bring you on. So
Mm,
yeah, we've had to make those decisions a few times. It's unfortunate, and there's been a few that have slipped through the cracks too. So that's happened. But the idea there is to try to identify it early, and either course correct if you can. Sometimes you got to depart ways. You got to part ways though too.
yeah, they say that
Yeah.
this saying, hire slow and fire fast.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, I know. It's being a leader. Sometimes you have to do the tough decisions as well. I
You
want to
do.
get
You got
to
to protect your team.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Once you have a bad seed, like that's it. And I've seen
Yeah.
that in cultures where, like when I was in corporate, it just took one bad seed, and sometimes yeah, the culture can get toxic. So,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're building and you've got, it's great that what you're doing, building and having staff stay for such a long term. I'm just curious to know, after all these years building this software, what have you learned about simplicity that most SaaS founders overcomplicate?
Yeah. So a lot of times SaaS founders are either very technical or semi-technical, and technical people tend to want to overcomplicate things. I am a technical person, so I'm a developer. I don't really develop anymore, but I come from that mindset. And that is actually one thing that I myself have had to overcome and still have to overcome today, is that I want to build things that are very robust and very well rounded. But a lot of times with those attributes comes uh, complexity. And the problem is that complexity is hard to move things forward when they're complex. So I have really defaulted to simple, especially these last few years. Let's build it simple. Whatever we're building, if we're building out, a time off system, let's bring it right down to its first principles. Figure out what's the minimal viable, whatever it is, application that we can build here. Start with that, keep it minimal viable, and then bolt on later the things that need to that we require. So I really start with that simple first mindset. I trust me, I want to over engineer everything, but I have to reel myself in. And also, there's times too when maybe another leader at On the Clock is building something too, whether it's maybe a system or a training system, whatever it is. A lot of times we get too complicated, and I'm like, okay, let's just scale that back. Let's make it simpler and start with that. And I found 100% of the time when it's simpler, the rollout of whatever it is you're doing is easier. It goes, people understand it better, they adapt to it better, and they just join into that whatever it is that you're building way better when it's simple. Because if it's complicated, it's hard to fit in. Simple is just always better.
Are you guys leveraging AI now? Because there's so many different changes. Are you, taking advantage of the opportunities and helping and letting it enhance, I don't know, your software, or how do you feel about AI
Yeah,
impact?
AI, obviously huge, massive gains that can be taken there. We're leveraging it very significantly in product right now. So there's several tools out there that, Figma, Lovable, we use both of those, and there's a handful of others as well. But they have really taken the design part of product to a whole new level where my product manager Steve and I can just sit there and talk to Lovable or talk to Figma, not talk to it, prompt it, and it's designing our screens, and it's just amazing. As far in development too, yeah, we're I'm less on that side. Sylvester, our development manager, is taking that, and we are a very AI first company, especially in product and development. I am in marketing. We're actually using Chat uses a lot of AI in marketing automation as well, and definitely starting to work that into all the rest of the company as well. Pretty much everybody uses AI, whether it's just ChatGPT or Claude just to help with their work, or they're using some of the more built-in tools like Lovable or Claude, or Lovable or Figma. So
Are
yeah,
you building, are you building AI agents for marketing as well, or are you just, because that's what something I'm missing at the piece of
agents. Yeah,
that's something
yeah,
that
yeah. We're definitely getting into that. I'd have to say, a good part of the company is definitely moving very, very fast on that. Haven't really had to reel anybody in yet. Not seeing any warning signs, but we are definitely working with agents. We were actually just talking today. We were uh, talking about Claude Cowork, and how it can really. I'm not an expert in that. I haven't actually used it, but they were just talking about how they started using it on this one computer, isolated computer, and how it was just doing all this work for them that would have normally taken hours that was now taking minutes. I don't have the details on that. I literally just 2 hours ago heard about it, but the
Claude Cowork.
productivity gains are just phenomenal. It's just
What is it?
it's crazy.
What was that? Claude Cowork.
Claude Cowork, yeah, Anthropic,
Oh yeah, yeah. Because
yeah,
yeah, we use it. We haven't gone in depth of the use of it, just besides research and the basic stuff. But there's so much you can do with it, especially to enhance what you have currently. And
yeah. Yeah, I
people,
personally am going to start looking at Cowork myself. It's been out for a few months now, I guess. But
Mhm.
yeah, it installs right on your local machine, and it can there is security risk, so I'm definitely not endorsing that anybody just go out and download it. But if you know what you're doing, you put it on an isolated machine. There's a lot of productivity gains, and that's my plan.
Nice. And let's talk about energy and building, because a lot of founders burn out, especially when they're building in the early days. And I hear they work
Hmm.
long hours, and it's just you've got to sacrifice a lot, like you mentioned as well. But what have you learned about sustaining energy without sacrificing your business? When you mentioned you sacrifice the time with your family, but what have you learned about now doing things without burning out, or did you even
Yeah,
burn out at the start?
yeah, I didn't really burn out so much in the beginning. I would say there has definitely been a few moments of burnout. I had kind of a big burnout moment about a year and a half ago. And what I've really realized is just energy management. It's like you just watch how much energy you're putting out into one thing at a given time, or multiple things at once. Sometimes is even worse. But for me, it's watch is if I monitor how much energy or how much focus I'm putting on something, mostly in time, right? It's, am I focusing on something for too many hours straight? Uh, I manage that in a lot of ways. I mean, the simplest way is to just take walks. So, like a lot of times, and drink a lot of water. That helps too, because you get up and
Mm.
use the bathroom more. But try to, like, every hour go for a 5 or 10 minute walk, and I tend to do that quite often. If it's wintertime like it is now here, sometimes I'll just walk around the building for 10 minutes, and that little 5 or 10 minute break can do an amazing amount for you. That's on a micro scale, but on a macro scale, I think it's really just about limiting the amount of time that you are focusing on something and stopping before you're just burned out for the day, right? So, if you're trying to cut off work at 5 o'clock and you make that a destination for yourself, and you get to that 5 o'clock and you want to work over, just having the discipline to stop, go home, be with the family, be with the kids. And if you feel energized a little later, maybe get a little bit of work in that night, but then, try to have a little bit of downtime, or at least, light time. I spend a lot of my quote downtime doing like research. It's not hard work. It's kind of like light work, I call it. So yeah, it's about how much energy you put out in
Is there
monitoring.
is there anything in your day to day that you can't go without? Some people have rituals. Some people have to do things a certain way. Like, do you
Yeah.
have a certain ritual? Like for me, for example, when I wake up, my ritual is just to have some meditation, prayer time, and then I try to do that before bed too. But I'm not too strict. And I've interviewed other people that have clock blocks, like they block their time out into the calendar from the clock, and then just they manage their time so aggressively. But I'm not like that. But do you have certain rituals or things that you do that you can't go without daily to help you?
Yeah, there's a few of them. I'd say definitely prayer time makes is a big factor for me, as well as time in the Word. But also, like you just mentioned, meditation. That's a big one for me. I find that even 10 minutes of meditation, just like that 10-minute walk, of just trying to clear your mind. I have a kind of a meditation technique that I kind of developed myself, I guess you might say. And that 10, even if I get 10 minutes in before work, that just gives me more. It's almost like this space in my mind that can be filled throughout the day. It creates
Mm.
this open space that the day can then populate without overloading myself. So yeah, meditation's a big one. As you said, prayer and being in the Word too. Yep.
I like that. Do you have any favorite books that have really helped you in business, like that have helped you scale and get to where you are? Any?
Yeah, there's a few of them. I would say Multipliers was a good one. I read that. The author, I forget the author's name. That was out a few years ago, but it's called Multipliers.
Mhm.
Um, Scaling People. I read that a couple years ago. She was the COO of Stripe. I forget her name too. I can't believe it. But it's the story of her coming into Stripe back in the early days. Stripe, the payments company,
Mhm.
and how she kind of wrangled in, these young entrepreneurs, and basically it's about scaling people. It kind of reads like a textbook in a lot of ways, but that was a great book. A couple things we got out of that. One thing I got out of it is what we call our operating system. So, Claire Hughes, that was her name. She has this, what she called an operating system, and it's kind of like a SOP for your business. And so, we've adopted that, and we've been building this operating system that is kind of like our SOP for our business. So it talks about, our people, our processes, how we do projects. It's been great and instrumental. We do it every year. So we did it for this year, and that's been a really great thing. The other one that I picked up is a working with me doc. She talked about that, and what that is I just used a Google slide. I'm not sure what she used, but you list out, maybe your personality, what you like, what you don't like, times that are good to contact you, uh, ways that you prefer to be contacted. And they're really these elementary things that most people that work with you would never know unless you told them. And so I took the time to build that out, probably about a year, maybe 2 years ago now. And I've heard people come up to me and say, I'm really glad that you gave me this, because I would have never known you didn't like X, and that's been a really good one. Yeah. So
And
those two books were great.
I'm going to look into that. That scaling people sounds good, especially the SOPs. I mean, I'm trying to build it out for each uh, different roles now. Every person should have their own SOP built
Oh yeah.
out. But I'd never thought about combining it and doing one for the overall business. And the fact that you do it every year too, that's good. It's like whenever things change, you update it or something. Is that what
Yeah.
you do?
Oh, it's definitely a living document. So as things change throughout the year, we adjust it. But really, every year, I just kind of take last year's version, copy it, rename it, and then go through it with any changes. I don't always want to change things mid-year. That I might set up or maybe somebody, Amanda, my operations manager, might want to change something. I'm like, oh, hold off. We'll just do this, in 27. And so we make a note. And then at the end of the year, we'll build those changes in. And yeah, it's been great and instrumental. And it's, we go through it at the beginning of the year, and it's shared with everybody. So everybody has access to it. And yeah, that I recommend any business should have that.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely.
Yeah, even if you just do 1 or 2 pages. I mean, I think
Yeah,
ours is, several pages, but, just something, it gives everybody a baseline to go off of.
yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
like, yeah, because everyone I have individual people do their own checklist and record and training just so that it makes it easier for the next person. Or if we expand, that's why the reason why I do it individually. But I've never actually considered doing it for the overall business, which is, yeah, sounds like it's great. Um, what if you could go back in time? What would you do differently?
Oh, what would I do differently? There's probably not a whole lot. Probably one thing I would do differently, though, I would have probably started bringing in people earlier. Um, I think, and I'm very happy with where we're at right now, but I think we could be further along if I, really made that first hire earlier.
When
Um,
did you? When? How long into the company did you decide to hire your first hire? How long did it
so,
take you?
so on the clock actually started, I think, 22 years ago now. So it was a passion project for that first 10 years. It was really just me, doing it. But then right around 10 years ago is when my brother Mark joined. And that's really when we were like, if we're going to do this, we need to bring on people. And so Samantha's coming up on 10 years. So it was, right around 10 years ago. But the problem with that is if I had started earlier, I probably wouldn't have found Samantha. So, right. Or the universe could have put her right in front of us later. You never know. Probably would have. But yeah, so that might be the one thing is I might have started building the team a little bit earlier.
Wow. And looking forward, do you plan to ever get venture capital, or what are your big dreams and visions for the future?
Yeah. So as far as investment, they're at you all the time. Literally every day they're calling, but it's really not in our plans. It's yeah, just not something that really interests me. Taking on that additional money, because then you have a controlling force in your company. You have somebody that's holding the money over your head, and it's just a situation personally that I don't work with really well. So for us, our big goal is we call it our 1 million user goal. So we're looking to service 1 million people in a month. Right now we're at about 180, close to 180,000, I believe, maybe 170,000. So we're about 17% of the way there. But that is the long-term goal. Now that is not time bound. That's really more of a aspirational goal for us in the future. That could be 3 years from now. It could be 5 or 10 years from now. But that's probably our big motivational goal right there. But the reality is we're just continue to build our product. One thing that we're doing that really nobody else is doing is we're building into we are scheduling, time tracking, and payroll. So as I mentioned earlier, we're building on what we're calling HR Lite. See, these are some of the basic HR functions that any small business would need, employee directory, notes for your employees, emergency contacts, eNPS to kind of gauge the health of your team. There's plenty of other things too. But what we're looking to do is bring this as well as the rest of our product to our customers to really level up their leadership game. So what I mean by that is teaching managers to not be managers, but to be leaders. Teaching people that, human resources, people aren't resources, right? People are humans. But to treat people like people, it's really what we've learned as a company. And in trying to educate our customers on this so that they can then in turn enjoy all the wonderful things that we enjoy. We have an amazingly engaged team. I mean this with all due, everything, but people are almost knocking down the doors to get into on the clock when we're hiring. So, it's a really great workplace, and I want all of our customers, we have 16,000 customers right now. I want them to be able to enjoy what we're enjoying. So we're building in lots of different subtle ways into the product that mentality. We're not sure what we're going to call it yet. It's something we're throwing around words like human, love for humans, making Monday as good as Friday, people over resources. There's lots of terms we're throwing around. We don't have the words for it yet, but it's really just teaching businesses to be better stewards of their team. That's really what we're trying to do. And nobody else is doing that right now. So we think that's going to be a big thing for us. Actually, we know it's going to be a big thing.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is there any piece of advice or anything that I've missed out that you want to bring up?
I think, the one thing I would say, one thing you might bring up to your listeners, and it doesn't matter if they're a new company, whether they're SaaS or not SaaS, but set your values. And what I mean by that is, your values, you don't just write them down and invent them. You already have them, right? So a lot of companies don't have their values documented. You have your values, so don't just try to invent them. What I always recommend is if you're the business owner, that you take some time and write down what's of value to you. Keep them simple, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 at most, and then go talk to your team, see what they value. Take your time. I say 3 to 6 months, and write down your values, and then make sure that you act out and embody your values. Your values are what establishes your culture. And if you do that one simple thing, you'll find that you will have a culture that is established, by the business owner and hopefully the founding team. And you don't end up with 2 and 3 and 4 different subcultures in your company. And especially as they grow, that can become extremely toxic. So probably the one thing we didn't talk about is setting the values, which then drives your culture, but you have to embody your values. You can't just put them on walls and put them on your website and call it a day. You actually, as leaders, whoever the leaders are in your company, you have to embody them. So that'd probably be my last piece.
I love that. That's very powerful advice too. And setting the tone as a leader to follow the values that you set out, and being the one that the team aspires to be like, I guess. And that's pretty powerful, setting those values out. I love that. That's a pretty thought-provoking. Yeah. What does success look like to you? How would you personally define success?
So success to me I know lots of people have different definitions of it, but success for me is going home at the end of the day knowing that I made a difference, whether it's with my team at work or if it's that our team made a difference with our customers' lives. Just knowing that we made a difference, that we affected the world in a positive way, even if it's just a little bit. We made a positive change in the world. That to me is success.
I like that. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to connect with you, Dean?
Probably the easiest way is LinkedIn. You could just find my Dean Matthews, one T, Mathews. I don't think there's too many of us out there, but you could look for On the Clock, Dean Matthews. Email, I can give that out here. It's Dean at On the Clock. So you could always, ontheclock.com. So I don't think there's too many scrapers finding my email address here. Maybe not. We'll see. So
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
thank you, Linda. It's been great. And I will say, all the listeners out there, if you guys are not subscribed to Inspired by Success podcast, please subscribe. I've listened to some of them. They're really good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, guys, hit that follow button if you're listening on the podcast. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe because it helps the channel grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.